For a brief period of time, VeggieTales was a seemingly unstoppable phenomenon, with its flagship videos selling millions and its endless assortment of merchandise appearing at every major store. VeggieTales' immense popularity wasn't present from the start, however, as there were a couple years where VeggieTales languished in obscurity. Episodes that would go on to be huge successes were only seen by thousands. One of the last videos made in this period before the series went mainstream was Rack, Shack and Benny. Released in October 1995, Rack, Shack and Benny was only the 4th episode of VeggieTales, and as such, the series was still changing quite a bit episode to episode. Unlike the episodes that had come prior, RSB was full length, only containing one storyline. This marked a major departure from the first 3 that consisted of 2 larger stories, and the videos that followed would keep this change. Although, eventually, VeggieTales would start having short stories before a full-length one with certain episodes. The storyline provided extra time in RSB is a Monty Python-style retelling of the Bible story about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Taking place in a chocolate bunny factory run by Mr. Nezer, main characters Rack, Shack, and Benny are forced to bear dire working conditions day after day. When the factory hits its 2 millionth bunny shipped, however, Mr. Nezer announces that everyone can take a break and eat as many chocolate bunnies as they want for 30 minutes. While most workers eat as much as they can, Rack, Shack, and Benny decide to eat a more sensible amount as a result of their parents' teachings. This decision leaves them as the only ones still standing up, and noticing this, Mr. Nezer decides to promote them to junior executives. With this new position, they are brought into a meeting where Mr. Nezer presents his idea to make a massive bunny statue. A massive bunny statue that everyone will have to bow down to while singing the bunny song. An apprehensive Bob asks what would happen if someone didn't bow down, and Mr. Nezer says that they'll be sent into the Bad Bunny Destroying Furnace. Even with this knowledge, Rack, Shack, and Benny still refuse to participate. Naturally, this leads them to getting tied up and sent on their way to the fiery furnace. For a brief period, it seems that they might escape, but this attempt fails. They go straight into the furnace to meet their early demise, except they get to live another day anyway because God saves them at the last second. This religious act inspires Mr. Nezer to announce that he won't make his workers do things that they aren't supposed to do. Created in the front offices of a screw factory, this episode features the biggest set to date thanks to Chris Olsen. While it doesn't seem all that impressive now, or even compared to what VeggieTales would do in subsequent episodes, at the time it was quite impressive. RSB's animation quality, on the other hand, still leaves a lot to be desired. The large set partially contributed to this, as certain parts had to be rendered on 2s to ship the episode out on time. The studio's budget and level of experience were also still far below where it would be in only a few years. Personally, I find the more rudimentary animation to be charming, but some might find it distracting. If you want to watch the episode with more modern animation quality, there's actually a fan recreation called Rack, Shack, and Benny Remolded that came out in 2024. Honestly, I'd recommend checking it out even if you like how the original looks, because it's really amazing what the team behind it pulled off. The original animation, even as rough around the edges as it is, still manages to create some funny moments though. There's a reason why every VeggieTales clip compilation includes the classic sitting-standing gag. The early animation also acts as an excellent backdrop for the bunny song, giving it an interesting atmosphere. The bunny song didn't need this interesting animation, however, as it would have been a highlight regardless for how good it is. The song would be even more of a highlight if it had maintained its original lyrics though. Unfortunately, parents sent in complaints about how their kids were singing about not wanting to go to church or school. As with every VeggieTales episode, a lot of the characters and ideas were inspired by other popular media. George was inspired by a character named Moses from the Hudsucker Proxy. Mr. Lunt was inspired by the Weasels from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And Mr. Nezer was inspired by the Oogie Boogie Man from Nightmare Before Christmas. You could also say that Mr. Nezer was inspired by factory owners, which goes into something I haven't mentioned so far: the episode's depiction of the workplace. At the chocolate factory, work starts at 8, and if you're even 2 minutes late, they'll remove money from your paycheck. Once your shift starts, there are no breaks. If you get injured, you have to keep working, and if you stop, you get fired. The only brief respite that you get in your all-day shift is lunch at 3. You then have to repeat this insane workday every single day of the week, and there are no vacations. You might wonder why anybody would subject themselves to this kind of environment, but they likely didn't have a choice. The episode explains that they are working to send money to their families, and this could mean that their parents either A, don't make enough to support themselves, or B, their parents can't work because workplaces only hire cheap children. Either way, they have no choice. Now, personally, I would say that anyone who would run a place like this is pretty evil, but according to George,
Mr. Nez is not a bad man.
the episode also only mentions the horrific working conditions that these vegetables go through in the very beginning, and personally, I think that that is a crime. This episode should have been a lesson in labor history and the power of unions. The fact— Okay, what does that sound?